Good morning, and thank you for having us here this morning. Good morning. So what I'm going to talk to you about first is our facilities at the school district. So for those of you that don't know, we have 4 elementary schools. We have 1 middle school, 1 high school, and then we have an alternative education site as well. So the community voted in a $128.8 million facility bond called Measure S. And if you're not familiar with how bonds work, you don't get all of the money at one time. So we don't have $128 million sitting in the bank that we can go ahead and spend. It's done over issuances over time. They can be anywhere from 25 to 30 years that you actually get the money to be able to spend it. So we're looking very carefully at all of our sites and what facilities need improvement, and then we put a plan together of how to use that money. So at this point in time, 2 of our facilities are finished. La Rosa Elementary and Cloverly Elementary are completed. There were modernizations done there, which means new windows are put in, new ceilings, new air conditioning, new carpeting, new technology like Eno boards, for an example. They look really, really nice. There wasn't enough money to do everything we wanted to do, so we used some deferred maintenance money and painted the entire site. So that same thing was done at La Rosa and Cloverly. They're both complete, and they both came in 6 months ahead of schedule, which we're very proud of. Right now, the 2 other elementary schools, Longden Elementary and Emperor, are under the same process. So in the next 6 to 9 months, both of those schools will be primarily finished. Longden will be a little bit longer than that. It'll be about 18 months from now for that to be complete. And at the same time, we're working on the high school. So at the corner of Lemon and Temple City High School, you will have noticed that a building was knocked down a while ago. There's a little delay in having it come back up related to some government things with the soil. It's all finished. And the building is now going up. It's going to be 3 wings that are 2 stories, and they'll have 32 classrooms. We're also going to be putting in a new pool. The track and the fields are being upgraded. What am I forgetting there? The swimming pool. Baseball and softball are being upgraded as well. And then the last thing on our list will be the middle school. We need to find out what our next bond release will be to see what we can do at that school next. Anybody have any questions? Did I put you to sleep? Yes, ma'am. We are not. A lot of people really like artificial grass. It's been quite popular. There's a few problems with it. The life expectancy is not as long as people think. It also gets quite hot. So there has to be quite a bit of water used to keep it cool, and since we're all very sensitive about the drought, it's probably not the best way for us to go, and that leaves us money to do other improvements for the students. But we did redo the grass last summer. There were quite a few holes and uneven spots, so we had it all taken down and had new grass put in. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
So how long that whole project will be done?
Which project?
The high school and high school.
So the high school, we should be wrapped up with all of that about winter of 18. So there's a lot of things happening, like there's the building, a 3-story building going on. That'll be complete in about 9 months, and then the pool will start. So we have a pool sitting there that will have to be taken out, the whole area regraded, and then a new pool put in. And we're making arrangements with the other districts to use their pool when we're out of commission for about a year. The students won't be able to use the pool. Otherwise, we're trying to work around it in the summertime. Anybody else? Sure. So we had a question about permits for people from other districts. We're always very happy to entertain any student that would like to come to our district. The first thing they have to do is go to their district of residence and ask for a release, because that school has to agree to allow them to go somewhere else. The next thing is we have to look at how much space we have. And you may or may not know this, but California law is requiring us to decrease class sizes. So by 2021, every K through 3 classroom has to be 24 or less. And it's not an average over your entire district, it's by each school site. So we only have so many physical classrooms to be able to accommodate students. So first we have to look at our students that live within our boundaries, and then we're very happy to entertain students that would like to come and join us. We look at grades, attendance from their prior sites, and then of course space. Does that help you?
I just want to extend that question.
Mm-hmm.
If they expuse from the original school, and then but later on discover that the TC school have no space, no available space for them, will that put the
Not at all. Their district of residence will always welcome them and take them. And we try and let all the families know as soon as we can. As soon as we know who our students are and what space we have, we let you know as soon as possible if we can take you or not. But it would be mid to late summer before we would be able to say that.
So they have to back to their original
Yes.
school.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have one more question?
Of course.
Once they get acceptance, is it from, like whatever they get acceptance and then to the 12th grade?
So yes and no. In the permit contract that they sign, there's 6 or 7 things that they have to do. They need to be a good citizen at the school. They need to retain, proper grades, attendance, those kinds of things. If they keep all of that in line, we welcome them back gladly each year. And we communicate with the families if there are any issues during the year.
Sure, because you probably had enough. Helen mentioned overflow. We have that on our, what we're doing, we have, the way the law is, because as Marianne shared, the requirement now that class sizes are smaller, which impacts each of the sites. The sites are designed for a certain amount of capacity, and we already exceed the capacity of each of the sites based on what they were built for, because all of our sites were built in the 1950s. And so the schools were designed for fewer students. And so what we try to do as we've increased, and we know that sometimes people do not like to see relocatable housing, portables, but that's really the only option for a number of school districts, us included, that we can continue to reduce class size and still maintain enrollment given the footprint of each of the school sites. So with students, families may buy a home in a set area to have their children go to a particular school, and it's always our intent to have the student in the school of residence. That's our first priority. However, with overflow, the way the classes are and the number of students that we can house at a particular site, what we share with families is that we will guarantee you a seat in the Temple City Unified School District. It may not be at that school of residence. Our sole purpose is to try to either get the student there eventually, or obviously it would be easier for us if we could place them there right when they register, but that's not always an option for us. So what we do is we try to put them at a school where there is space as close as possible. The Temple City Unified School District is not a huge school district. We're a 3.5 mile city, so it's not like it's a huge, but we still are sensitive to the fact that it is an inconvenience if someone buys a home across the street from a school and we're asking them to go to a separate school that might be a couple miles away. So our intent is always to try to have our students at the home school. We believe that's better for them. We believe it's better for the community. It's more comfortable. They start to have their friends right there in the neighborhood. So we're sensitive to all those pieces. One thing that I want to mention is my job before superintendent was I was a site principal, and so I'm very sensitive to the site. That's why I love working with Marianne, because our first priority always in every decision we make in the school district is about students and the impact on students and their families. And so everything that every decision we make is through that lens. So we do everything in our power to try to have students at the school of their residence, but we're not always able to do that. Lastly, another question was asked about performing arts. We're extremely proud of performing arts. I'm strongly committed to the arts as well. We've just put into place, it's a teacher on special assignment. They're called TOSAs, because we had, over the budgeting process in the state of California, as we're all aware of with the recession and the huge impact on schools, art became less of a priority in the state of California. But through our foundation and through our parent support, we were able to maintain still a rich and strong performing arts program that now is continuing to flourish. And in addition to that, one of the aspects of the arts that was neglected by my standards is the visual arts, and so we've now put in place a arts innovation program where we have a grant through the Los Angeles County Office of Education as well, and we're expanding. We have an art teacher now that goes out and actually did another presentation yesterday afternoon at one of our other school sites, and bringing back some of the visual arts into the classroom setting so that teachers are more comfortable with the arts. Interestingly enough as well, because the arts were somewhat of a neglected area budgetarily, the university stopped offering art classes. When I went through training, I had to take art for elementary teachers. That was just a standard. Every teacher that regardless of area, whether you were secondary or elementary, you took an art class in order to incorporate arts into your curriculum. Well, the universities stepped away from that as we became a far more academic-oriented culture, as well as the economics. So that is all changing now, and we're seeing a resurgence in the arts, of the theater arts, all the visual arts, as well as the performing arts. But we remain very interested. We believe that the arts definitely affects a student's ability to learn. It is part of brain development, and so we're going to continue to grow our arts program in the Temple City Unified School District. We'd love to have a performing arts complex. That's something that hasn't fallen off our radar, and yet it's financially, as Marianne indicated, $128 million seems like a lot of money, but it's purted out over 30 years, and as I'm not telling you, you're in the business, you understand escalation and increased cost. So we're going to do everything in our power to try to continue to take, as I said, the existing footprint, and we do that at each of the sites, and rescope the work so that we can try to do what we can given the dollars and the available space we have. So we have not forgotten the arts. So I believe we've covered everything that came from you at the beginning. So is there anything else that you would like us to address before we close? Helen?
We like to work together with the school district, and then we also want to support each other. Is any way that we have update, for example, each school site, how many available seats? So as a realtor, when we help people to buy house, at least we can tell them, educate them, okay, if you buy house in this, you might not be able to be in that school site. Something like a pre-education, or not like a surprise when they bought house and then, oh my gosh, I bought for that school especially. So
You could always call Marianne's office and elicit that information. It's very fluid information. It changes all the time. Like our numbers are different today than they were yesterday because kids come in, kids go out, and so but we could kind of give you a general idea that because some grade levels there's room, but other grade levels there's not, and that may be the next month. That may not be the case. So, but if there is, a family that feels very strongly that, gosh, they really want to go or be in a certain area because the grandparents are there or whatever, we're happy to tell you, yes, there is space at that site. Or we could tell you there's a waiting list. But it varies by grade levels as well. We don't put that information online because it is fluid information, and we don't want to be put in a position where, say, someone buys a home. By the time they go through the process, there isn't space, and then so we have to be careful as well. We want to start off on a good footing with our families. So, but we're happy to, if any of your associates have questions, we're happy to say yes, that school has a little bit of space. No, it doesn't, we're happy to do that. But our goal still remains to try to get people into the area where they're purchasing.
another challenge question. As we see that Temple City has a lot of construction and a lot of subdivision, so one house will become two in the future. So I think maybe certain time will reach the capacity no matter what. Do we have any opportunity
Yeah, I will. Helen's asking about, and it's something Mary Ann and I discuss all the time. We're extremely concerned about it, the amount of building going on in Temple City right now. One home goes down, 3 houses go up. One home goes down, a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, or 6-bedroom, 6-bath home goes in. It's a huge impact for us. At some point, regardless of how much we plan, and right now we're not releasing any of our portable construction that I indicated, at some point, and it'll depend, and we've engaged this conversation with the city as well, at some point we will reach capacity. Regardless, we don't want to have schools that are 4 stories high for little kids. It's not even within the law. We can't even put kids under 3rd grade onto a 2nd floor. So there are other laws and things that come into place, and so we've engaged in the city. We want to know what, at some point too, the city reaches capacity for what we're able to provide in public services. So it's something that we talk about, we think about. We're not in the business of buying property. We don't have that opportunity or ability to do that. Eminent domain and all those other things, property values are too high for that type of stuff to occur. So it is a challenge, and it's really something that we're continuing to dialogue with the city about, because they really are controlling. We don't control the building, we just control the educational part, which we happily do. But at some point, I look at it, and Mary Ann and I have discussed it. You take a school site that's 5 acres, and that capacity when it was built was designed probably for 250 to 300 kids. Well, we now have well over 500 kids on that site. And so at some point, the cafeteria was built for a certain capacity, the library was built for a certain capacity. We don't have, in our business, we don't have the ability just to take it down and build new. So it's an ongoing challenge for us. We try, we try not to have, for example, it may seem something simple like, well, the kids can just eat at different times. Well, yeah, they could, but you don't want a 1st grader eating at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So those are all the things that we work on as we talk about space and capacity, because, as I said, our primary focus is always the impact on the student. Lastly, I just want to talk real quick to you about some of the things that we're working on in the last 2 years. There's a big emphasis on STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Throughout, it's really actually global. We are now working and living in an intellectual economy. It's solely based on information acquisition, and so we're positioning our kids to be able to work in collaborative groups, to think critically, to work in really a global marketplace. And so we have a number of our students working on robots right now, starting as young as kindergarten with B-bots, and all the way up through our kids are competing at the high school level in robotic challenges. We're also instituting, through our relationship with PCC, dual enrollment. We've launched now, it'll be our 3rd class, where students can have concurrent enrollment at Temple City High School as well as at PCC. So they're getting credit both at the junior college and the high school simultaneously. Next fall, we're very proud, through our agreement with PCC and an arrangement we've made with them. We are launching a 9th grade college and career program called Get Focused, Stay Focused. Every student will have a semester where they will look at college and career, because we're all realizing, as in the education business, it's no longer just about going to college. It's about what can you do to sustain yourself in a career, because the global marketplace, places like Google, they don't even want college graduates. They want people that they can bring in and train on their own. So we're looking at a variety of ways. We want kids to be college ready, but we also want them to be career ready. So those are just a few things that we're doing. We're doing a lot of other great things that we're extremely proud of, and I'm just pleased to be able to work with people like Mary Ann. I call her the Queen of Cash, because I like to spend, and she keeps me in line. So I'm excited. I'm honored to be able to lead the district in this stage of my career. I have a vested interest in our kids, in our community. I live in Temple City, and so we want to make sure that everything that we offer our families, our students, is on par with what's going on in every other school district. So I thank you for your time. Thank you for welcoming us.